We live in a world where people rarely say what they truly feel. Society has conditioned us to mask our emotions, to play it cool, to avoid vulnerability at all costs. But just because someone acts like they don't care doesn't mean they actually don't. In fact, the ones who go out of their way to seem indifferent are often the ones who care the most. Think about it. When someone is genuinely uninterested in something, do they spend time avoiding it on purpose? No, they just move on. Indifference isn't loud. It doesn't seek validation. But when someone is secretly obsessed, their behavior contradicts their words. They will find excuses to be around you, even if they make it seem unintentional. They might not say much, but their presence speaks volumes. Have you ever noticed how someone who doesn't care will still check your social media? How they somehow remember tiny details you mentioned months ago? How they always seem to be nearby, even when it doesn't make sense for them to be there? That's not coincidence. That's attention. And attention, especially the kind that's hidden, is the most revealing thing of all. People reveal their emotions in ways they don't even realize. A person who is secretly obsessed with you might talk about you when you're not around, maybe bringing you up in conversations, subtly asking mutual friends about you, or even making lighthearted jokes that still keep you as the focus. They might seem unaffected on the surface, but their mind is constantly circling back to you. And then there's the contradiction, the way they behave differently when they think no one is watching. You might catch them staring just a little too long before they quickly look away. You might notice them suddenly acting different around you compared to others. Maybe they tease you a little more, or maybe they go quiet when you enter the room. But the truth is, their actions tell you everything. When someone is obsessed, even if they pretend not to be, their subconscious betrays them. Their body language shifts, their tone changes, they fidget, they adjust their clothes, they check their phone, but don't actually type anything. The human brain is wired for survival, and when emotions become overwhelming, they leak through in ways we can't control. A person who is trying to hide their feelings will often overcompensate by acting distant, aloof, or even cold. But those who truly don't care don't need to act at all. It's important to understand that obsession doesn't always come in the form of affection. Sometimes it appears as resistance. The person who argues with you more than anyone else, the one who always has a sarcastic remark, the one who seems to be irritated by everything you do, that could be obsession in disguise. When someone is deeply invested in you, whether they admit it or not, it creates an emotional charge, and emotions, no matter how they manifest, mean you are taking up space in their mind. This is why you should never take surface-level behavior at face value. People hide what they feel for many reasons: fear of rejection, pride, insecurity, the desire to maintain control. But in the end, emotions have a way of making themselves known. Some people will go to great lengths to suppress their feelings, but the harder they try to bury them, the more obvious they become. It's like holding a beach ball underwater. Sooner or later, it's going to pop up. Another major giveaway of hidden obsession is how they react when you give your attention to someone else. Suddenly, the person who doesn't care is watching a little more closely. Their energy shifts. Maybe they interrupt conversations, make sarcastic comments, or act completely unbothered. But their presence lingers. They might even try to downplay your importance, as if to convince themselves as much as you. But if they genuinely didn't care, your actions wouldn't affect them at all. Sometimes obsession doesn't look like affection, it looks like control. Someone might pretend they don't care, yet still want to dictate who you talk to, where you go, or how much attention you receive. They might not want to be with you, but they also don't want to see you with someone else. This is where their hidden emotions become most apparent. They don't want to acknowledge their attachment, but their subconscious refuses to let go. People who are secretly obsessed often battle within themselves. On one hand, they want to be close to you. On the other hand, they're terrified of what that means, so they create distance. They act indifferent. They pretend to be unaffected, but their actions always betray them. Obsession, especially when it's hidden, can manifest in so many ways. It can be silent, appearing in stolen glances and subtle movements. It can be defiant, showing up as resistance in arguments. It can be protective, making them act as if they have some unspoken claim over you. But no matter how it appears, one thing remains true. When someone is secretly obsessed, they will never truly be able to hide it. Human beings are experts at pretending. We can say one thing while feeling another. We can put on a mask, act indifferent, and convince ourselves that we're unaffected. But no matter how much someone tries to hide their emotions, their energy will always betray them. Energy is the one thing you can't fake. It's the way someone's presence shifts the air in a room. It's the way you can feel when someone is thinking about you, even if they haven't said a word. It's in the way their body tenses when you walk by, the way their breathing subtly changes when you're near, the way their mood is different when you're around. We are all made of energy, and whether we realize it or not, we are constantly transmitting signals to those around us. Even when words are silent, energy speaks volumes. That's why you can sense when someone is staring at you from across the room. That's why you can tell when someone is nervous, even if they're trying to act confident. And that's why no matter how much someone insists that they don't care, you can feel when they do. Have you ever noticed that some people just linger? They might not talk to you directly, but they always seem to be in your orbit. They might not engage, but they're never far away. This isn't coincidence. This is energy in motion. When someone is secretly obsessed, their subconscious mind pulls them toward you like a magnet. They don't even have to be aware of it. It happens on an instinctive level. Their thoughts, their emotions, their suppressed feelings all manifest in their physical presence. Sometimes this energy shows up in unexpected ways. It's not always warm. It's not always obvious. Sometimes it comes in the form of tension. You've probably felt it before, that thick, unspoken charge in the air between you and someone else. Maybe they seem irritated. Maybe they act indifferent. Maybe they even go out of their way to ignore you. But deep down, you feel it. That's because emotions don't just live in the mind, they radiate outward. And the stronger the emotion, the stronger the energy. This is why obsession, even when hidden, is impossible to suppress completely. You might see it in the way someone suddenly becomes animated when you enter the conversation. You might notice it in the way they find reasons to interact with you, even if it's just to argue. You might feel it in the way they respond faster to your messages than they do to anyone else's. These aren't just behaviors. These are energetic responses to the emotions they refuse to acknowledge. Have you ever experienced a moment where someone walked into a room and you could just feel their presence before even seeing them? That's because human beings are wired to pick up on energy before logic catches up. It's why you can sense tension between two people, even if they're sitting in silence. It's why you can tell when someone is watching you, even if they're behind you. When someone is secretly obsessed, their energy will always reveal it. They might act distant, but their attention is hyper-focused. They might appear calm, but their body language gives them away. They might seem indifferent, but their reactions to you are anything but neutral. And this is because the more someone tries to suppress an emotion, the more powerful that emotion becomes. Think about the last time you had a strong emotional reaction to something. Maybe it was excitement, maybe it was fear, maybe it was deep frustration. Whatever it was, you probably felt it in your body before you even had the words to describe it. Maybe your heart raced. Maybe your stomach tightened. Maybe you felt warmth rise in your chest. This is what happens when emotions take control, and no matter how much someone wants to hide what they feel, they can't stop their energy from responding. The body and mind are deeply connected, and this is why people who try to act like they don't care often end up displaying the opposite through their unconscious behaviors. They might lean in slightly when you speak. Their pupils might dilate when they look at you. Their voice might lower. Their breathing might slow. Their hands might fidget. These small, subtle signals are energy in action. They are the truth behind the mask. You've probably noticed that when you focus on someone, really focus on them, you can almost pull their attention toward you. It's the same way you can sometimes think about a person intensely and suddenly they message you or appear in your life. This isn't magic, this is energy responding to energy. When someone is secretly obsessed, they are unknowingly directing their focus toward you at all times. And where focus goes, energy flows. It's also why people who pretend not to care often have the strongest emotional reactions when you do something unexpected. If you withdraw your attention, they notice. If you talk to someone else, they react. If you suddenly stop engaging, they feel the shift. Even if they don't express it openly, their energy will. They may not say it out loud, but you'll see it in the way they glance over, the way they tense up, the way they start mirroring your actions without even realizing it. The truth is, you don't need someone to admit their obsession for you to recognize it. You just have to pay attention. Words can be manipulated, but energy never lies. In every dynamic, whether it's romantic, social, or professional, there is always an underlying balance of power. And in situations where someone is secretly obsessed with you but pretending not to care, the power is entirely in your hands. The real question isn't whether they're obsessed. The real question is, what are you going to do with that power? Most people spend too much time overanalyzing someone else's behavior. They try to decode the mixed signals, dissect every interaction, and search for hidden meanings in the smallest details. But in doing so, they miss the most important thing. They are handing over control. They are allowing someone else's unspoken feelings to dictate their own emotions and actions. But when you shift your focus back to yourself, the power dynamic changes. When someone is obsessed with you, especially when they try to hide it, they are already operating from a place of emotional vulnerability. Whether they admit it or not, their thoughts revolve around you. Their actions, even the subtle ones, are influenced by you. They might be trying to maintain control by acting indifferent, but deep down, they are the ones being pulled toward you. The moment you recognize this, you reclaim your power. Power in this sense isn't about manipulation. It's not about playing games or intentionally making someone chase you. True power comes from knowing your worth and refusing to shrink yourself just to fit into someone else's emotional confusion. It comes from understanding that their hidden obsession is their issue to deal with, not yours to figure out. Too often, people get stuck in the trap of trying to prove their worth to someone who is secretly obsessed but unwilling to show it. They think, if I just do this, they'll admit how they feel. If I act a certain way, they'll finally stop pretending. But that's a mistake. The moment you start adjusting your behavior to get a reaction from someone, you are giving them control. Instead, the real power move is to continue living your life fully without waiting for them to catch up. This is where detachment becomes your greatest tool. When you stop seeking validation from someone who is secretly obsessed, you shift the entire dynamic. Suddenly, they are the ones left wondering. They are the ones analyzing your actions. They are the ones feeling unsettled. Because the moment they sense they don't have a hold on your attention, their obsession intensifies. You see, when someone is hiding their true feelings, it's often because they fear losing control. They want to feel like they have the upper hand. They want to appear unaffected. But what happens when you refuse to play into that? What happens when you stop reacting to their inconsistency and instead move forward with confidence, as if their behavior doesn't concern you at all? That's when the real power shift happens. People who are secretly obsessed but pretending not to care are usually driven by one of two things: fear or ego. Some are afraid of being vulnerable, of admitting how much they care because they think it makes them weak. Others are driven by their ego, wanting to maintain the illusion that they are in control. But in either case, their obsession grows when they feel like they are losing access to you. This is why one of the most powerful things you can do is be unpredictable. If someone is obsessed with you but trying to hide it, they thrive on the illusion of certainty. They want to believe they understand you, that they know how you'll react, that they have some unspoken influence over your emotions. But the moment you become unpredictable, When you stop responding the way they expect, you shift the power back in your favor. Maybe they're used to you always being available, always acknowledging them, always giving them subtle validation. Change that. Maybe they expect you to notice when they pull away or act indifferent. Don't. Maybe they assume you're waiting for them to finally reveal their feelings. Show them that you're not with words, but with your actions, your energy, your complete disinterest in playing along with their hidden game. When you operate from a place of self-assurance, you naturally force them to confront their own emotions. They can no longer rely on the comfort of knowing you're always paying attention. They start wondering, are they moving on? Do they even notice me anymore? Their obsession, instead of fading, becomes amplified. This isn't about creating unnecessary distance or being cold just to prove a point. It's about stepping into a position where you dictate the pace, where you decide how much energy you give, how much space you allow, and how much of your focus is directed toward them. And in doing so, you make it clear that their hidden obsession doesn't determine your choices. The ultimate power move is indifference, not fake indifference, genuine indifference. When you no longer seek confirmation of their obsession, when you no longer try to pull a reaction from them, when you are truly unfazed by whether they admit their feelings or not, that is when you hold all the power. At the core of every relationship, every attraction, and every dynamic between two people is one fundamental truth. How you see yourself determines how others see you. If someone is secretly obsessed with you but refuses to show it, the real question isn't why they're acting that way. The real question is, do you truly recognize your own worth? Too many people spend their energy analyzing someone else's mixed signals, trying to understand their hidden emotions, wondering what their silence really means. But here's the thing. When you fully own your worth, you stop looking for confirmation from anyone else. You stop trying to read between the lines because you don't need to. You already know who you are. You already know what you bring to the table. And whether or not someone is willing to admit their feelings doesn't change that. Owning your worth means standing so firmly in your confidence that someone else's hesitation or fear of vulnerability doesn't shake you. If they're secretly obsessed with you but pretending not to care, that's their issue to resolve. It's not your responsibility to fix, to decode, or to wait around for. When you truly understand your value, you refuse to waste time on someone who can't even be honest about how they feel. The moment you embrace this mindset, everything changes. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself. You no longer chase after validation. You no longer waste your time trying to convince someone that you are worthy of attention, effort, or commitment. Instead, you set the standard. You decide what kind of energy you accept in your life. And if someone isn't willing to meet you at your level, you don't lower yourself to accommodate them. You walk away. When you own your worth, you naturally command respect. People can feel it. It's in the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, the way you move through the world without needing external approval. And the more you embody this energy, the more you'll notice a shift, not just in how others treat you, but in how you see yourself. Think about the difference between someone who knows they are valuable and someone who seeks validation. A person who knows their worth doesn't need constant reassurance. They don't overthink someone else's behavior. They don't feel the need to chase, to convince, to settle for less than they deserve. They attract effortlessly. They walk into a room and their energy speaks before they do. On the other hand, a person who seeks validation gives away their power. They become consumed by what someone else is doing or not doing. They try to earn attention rather than realizing they are the attention. And when they place their worth in someone else's hands, they become dependent on that person's recognition to feel valuable. This is why owning your worth is the key to shifting every dynamic in your life. It's not about arrogance. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about understanding that you never have to beg for what is meant for you. That someone who truly values you will show it, not hide it, not suppress it, not leave you guessing. When someone is secretly obsessed with you, they are already giving you power without realizing it. Their thoughts revolve around you. Their emotions are tied to you. Their actions, even the ones they think are subtle, are driven by their connection to you. But here's the truth. You don't need their obsession to validate you. Instead of focusing on whether they will ever admit their feelings, ask yourself a more important question. Do they align with the version of yourself that you are stepping into? Because when you fully own your worth, you will attract people who are certain about you, people who don't hide their obsession but express it openly, people who don't make you question where you stand but make it clear through their actions. And that's the real shift, when you stop entertaining uncertainty, when you refuse to give energy to people who play games, when you recognize that your value doesn't depend on whether someone is willing to acknowledge it. Because deep down, they already know your worth. That's why they're obsessed. That's why they can't stop thinking about you. That's why they keep coming back even when they pretend they don't care. The difference is, when you truly own your worth, you don't wait for them to figure it out. You already know who you are. And that is the most powerful position you can ever be in.